Hi, good morning, Miss. I'm sorry about this. My mouth is kind of.
That's okay. Yeah,
Dr. Bernadine, I'm so sorry.
that's okay.
Basically introducing you. I actually have a bio about you that I'll be saying as an introduction. Um, so Dr. Bernadine Williams is a MA, LPC, NCC, LAC, CCS, CCGC.
hmm
Titles. I love it. She received her BS in psychology from SUNA, where she currently serves as an adjunct.
Adjunct. hmm
I'm sorry about that.
Adjunct. Yeah, because of your mouth, I see.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. Professor and obtained her master's in mental health counseling from Xavier University. She graduated from Mississippi College on August 4th, 2018 with a doctorate in professional counseling in psychology. Her passion for addiction and helping people recover lead to her dissertation developing a short-term medication free. I love that. Transitional recovery program for adults residents of Jefferson Parish diagnosed with substance disorders. Dr. Williams manages the medication assisted treatment, prescription drugs, and opioid addiction grant for the tri parishes, which include New Orleans, Plaquemine, and St. Bernard Parish. I'm sorry about that. It's a little messed up,
Take your
but
time.
additionally, she is the vice president of the Women's and Auxiliary of James Chapel Bishop Church, Baptist Church. I'm sorry. We have this bio.
Pardon me?
I was just saying that's the end of the bio.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I left out. I have one son and one adopted daughter. They both graduated from Nickel State University. So yeah, so everything is pretty good right now.
Mhm.
Um, Also, I wanted to let you all know that the medication assisted treatment grant ended in October. So I'm no longer doing that piece with opioids because what we were doing, it was a $3 million contract, $3 million grant. And what we had to do was introduce newbies or new persons to methadone or to medication assisted treatment like methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, the different medications that can help them overcome their cravings for addiction or for opioids. So I don't know if you all know this, but there are 23.5 million people using drugs and alcohol over the age of 12. And since COVID-19, it has increased exponentially. You know, a lot of people just were afraid, they were freaking out, and still are afraid because this is a deadly disease. And although there are ways to overcome it and to stay safe, a lot of people aren't willing to make the sacrifice. And also, a lot of those who are users or in recovery or would like to be in recovery, right now it's not truly possible because a lot of the places, the agencies only taking maybe like 1/3 of the people that they could take into treatment. In other words, if they're like Grace House can accept 96 people, but right now they're only taking in 30 people. And that's because of the social distancing, mask wearing, trying to stay safe. So a lot of people will not receive treatment. I mean, they could get IOP, but for those who wanted to go in residential treatment, they're going to be waiting a very long time until we get COVID-19 under containment, you know. So a lot of people are out there, and as a matter of fact, in actuality, only 11% of people go for treatment. Out of 23.5 million people, only 11% people receive treatment because most people will not seek treatment. Most people don't know how to get insurance or they won't apply for insurance, you know, because now the treatment facilities are taking Medicaid um, as a form of payment. A lot of them just, you know, they're not confident about the people who are running these facilities. And so they're just not coming to treatment. They won't even seek it. They feel like I don't have a problem, you know. And here in Louisiana and especially New Orleans, we have so many festivals that are connected to drinking and drugging. You know, we have Jazz Fest. What people do? Drink, music, drinking, having fun. French Quarter Fest, music, drinking, having fun. Crawfish boil. Well, they take crawfish and drink, right? You know, it's just so many things that it's connected to. And so if we could teach people how to enjoy these type of festivities without getting, without using, without drinking, and if you drink, drink to a minimum. Everybody that drink is not an addict, you know, because some people can drink and nothing happens. Some people can smoke a marijuana joint and nothing happens. But a lot of people cannot do it. You know, something with their brain cells that causes them to become addicted to the substance. And once they become addicted, you know, they have poor judgment, poor decision making, poor skills, you know, poor, won't even work. They're isolated, be with people who are like them, you know, and never try to get into treatment, never try to recuperate from that. And so they'll stay using and stay making bad decisions, you know, poor judgment, and just become compulsive behind using these substances. So what do we do about that? Well, you know, now we say at one point when I first got into it, addiction, it was all about not using at all, you know, either you use or you don't use. But now they have something called harm reduction. You know, so if you were used to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, and I think 20 cigarettes come in a pack, now they say, well, if you smoke 18 or 19, that's harm reduction because you've decreased by one. You know, and every day or every week, if you continue to decrease by one, eventually you'll stop using, you know, because tobacco is a drug as well. So we try to use that harm reduction policy. I'd rather not use it, but I will use it because I know most people can't just stop like that, you know, so you have to encourage them, coax them, use CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. You probably know about that, right, Bria? You know, and to help them overcome, to learn about the addiction, to learn about their triggers, to learn what makes them want to use, you know. And so once they learn and understand and know what their coping skills are, then you could build a treatment plan from there and help them to go into recovery, you know. So that's a good thing. So with the harm reduction, nowadays, most people, well, just to slow it down a little bit, now you know that they are using, have CBD is legal in some cities and states. Not here. In Louisiana, it's only legal for medication purposes, anxiety. I think they like to use it for
I think
depression. arthritis, yeah, and stuff like that. You're right. And autism, right? I think autism too, because a lot of people say, well, when my child gets some CBD oil or whatever, they calm down. So they like to use it for autism as well. But in California, Colorado, and a couple other states, they use it all the time, for because it's legal. Oklahoma, it's legal. So, but they just brought on other problems because they didn't realize that having people walk around loaded, driving loaded, it would cause other issues, wrecks and other things, criminality, because your brain is altered, so you start doing different things. Also, with the opioid, it has come back strong. It used to be real strong in like the 80s, and it kind of slacked down. But now again, it's back where a point where people can buy opioid or heroin for little or no money. They could go and buy a $5 bag of heroin and get high, shoot up or whatever. Now they have something I'll call purple heroin, which is dangerous. They don't know where it comes from, but people will try things and they would use stuff just because they think they're going to a different level with using. So with the opioids, we have the medication assisted treatment. One of my favorites for to stop the cravings with opioid is methadone. Now, one time I wasn't pro methadone because I come from where old school people were teaching me old school values. I had to do a lot of research and learn it myself and understand what methadone was about and what it was doing and how it helped people. And still, if you talk to a lot of people, they're old school, they still believe, well, all they're doing is substituting one drug for another. That's not true. It's like diabetes. Some people need medication, some don't. Some people can manage their diabetes without medication, others can't. Asthma. Some people do very well with managing their asthma, and others don't. Others need medication. So, you have different diseases and different sicknesses, whereas you would need, some need medications and some don't. So with the opioid, I think most of them need medication. And methadone, it either comes in liquid or a tablet. It's an orange tab. It's coming in orange or white. The white tablets are like 10 milligrams. The orange tablets are like 30, 60, 90. They come in 30s milligrams. So if a person is on 40 milligrams and they want tablets, they'll give them one orange, that's a 30, and one white, which is 10, and that's the 40. So, and what it does, methadone removes the craving. It stops the craving. Once a person go into the opioid clinic, it's very expensive. Medicaid is starting to pay for it now. It's once they join the clinic, it's $99 to join the clinic. The medication costs $99 a week, which is very expensive. So we needed Medicaid to take over that because a lot of people who were using or who are using are on SSI or Social Security. And so, and their checks range from maybe 500 to 700. Well, if we gonna take $99, that's $100 a week. That's $400 a month. How can they live? How can they function as a normal person? They can't, right? And so a lot of times they won't pay for their medication. And so well, of course, in the industry, It's a business. So you can't always give them their medicine, and so they're going without their medicine, which causes them to turn to the streets, which causes them to go buy heroin. And that's why we have a lot of deaths, a lot of ODs. So I was happy to hear that Medicaid was paying for it now, because that takes some of the pressure off of people. They could get their medication. All they have to do is show up. Now, another thing about that population, they will show up for their medication, but they don't want counseling. That's no good. If you're going to be in treatment, you need counseling. You need to understand, why are you participating in substance use? Why do you like, feeling another way? What's causing you to react or to engage, in poor decision making, poor judgment calls? Why your behavior is so compulsive behind this drug. And they really don't want that. They don't want counseling. They just want their medicine and go. And so we won't do it like that. We'll put we call it a hold. We'll put a hold on them, make them do counseling, and then get their medication, see the doctor, get the medication, and then go to work. The clinics open early in the morning. They open like 5 o'clock in the morning so that a person can get to work. That's the opioid clinics now. And the opioid clinics not only do methadone, but they also do Suboxone, which is another form of medication treatment. It's a tablet as well. They come in tablet form. I think the only one that really comes in liquid and tablets is methadone. No, Sublocade you could get in, and Sublocade is a cheaper form of Suboxone. So they could get liquids there too. But most people like the tablets because they do a lot of stuff we call diversion. Cut it in half, take half, sell half. That's another thing you have to watch out with them, because they won't take all their medication. They'll make money off of it. They very business acumens. You really have to watch them a lot. And so we have to do a lot of things to monitor them and make sure that they're taking their medications. People who are serious, though, you ain't got to worry about them. They're going to take their medicine because they want to be free of drugs. And nobody will ever know that you're on methadone or Suboxone or anything else unless you tell it. You understand? If you tell it, they know. But otherwise, they'll never know. So with methadone, it's a tier type system. It's a reward system. When you first start, you have to go every day to the clinic, except for Sundays. The clinic is closed on Sundays, so you have to go every day. Normally, they start you at 30 milligrams. But if you've been using for, let's say, 5 years, and you've been using every day, maybe $100 or more per day, well, 30 milligrams of methadone is not going to help you. You probably need 60 or above. Now, here in Louisiana, they don't like to go above 90. New York and all those other states, you could get methadone up to like 180, 190, which really isn't good because you really don't need that much, because it tears down other parts of your body. It's a dangerous drug. I mean, let's just be real. Some things that are good for you are also bad for you. So it affects their bodies a lot. Sometimes they can't have sex. Their livers are bothered by them. Most of the time when they come in, they have Hep C. They be having so many different ailments. And then when they take this methadone, it just, it increases these ailments and things like that. So we try to keep them at a minimum. Like I said, most people can take 60 milligrams and be fine, you know, the most 90 milligrams, and they're okay. When you see a lot of them trying to get more, sometimes they're trying to sell it. Suboxone, a lot of women like Suboxone because they feel like it's easier for them. It comes in strip or tablet. So they can put a strip under their tongue, you know, and they could be okay. Or either they'll take a strip and put it on their tongue, but then they'll hurry up and take it out and sell it. So they like doing that. They do a lot of that, Andrea. I see your reaction. They do a lot of that.
You didn't put that in your
Yeah.
phone. Now you're trying to get it to somebody else. That's
And
that's
they
not
give it to other people.
it is.
How big is
It's a,
the strip? Like how
it's
is it?
yeah, it's small. It's like that, you know, and thin,
Mhm.
and they just
Yeah.
slide it under their tongue, and
Mm.
then. But guess what? Even with the liquid, they'll hold that liquid in their mouth and spit it in a cup and give it to the next person outside, and they'll drink it. So they do all sorts of things, you know. Which is not good, you know. But we've seen this, and so that's why we have to make them talk. You know, before they leave, we ask the nurse to make them talk, so that way they'll swallow the thing and keep them at the window long enough for that strip to melt, and they can't pass it on. You know, but sometimes we get so busy that you know you can't do it. You want to do it, but you can't do it because you put extra pressure on yourself to move the line. But if everyone would follow the guidelines, we could win. But you know, that's a whole nother issue right there. So so we have that, and then we have Vivitrol. It's the injection once a month. And they started to use the Vivitrol with the prisoners. Because you know in prison they get drugs. People bring in drugs to them. And it's a big drug thing in prison, you know. So what they started doing was trying Vivitrol on them. So they give them the injection once a month, and every 30 days they have to take it, and it keeps them from using, keeps them from craving and everything like that. The only downfall with the Vivitrol shots is that it causes soreness and different types of things go on with their body, you know, like it get infected and stuff like that. So they kind of have to move it around, but they won't move it around too much unless the person really, really is in bad shape and stuff like that. But it works too. So when they come out of prison, you know, normally times we'll just continue giving them the Vivitrol because they're used to it and it works well, and it's once a month, you know, and it's not as well, it is expensive, but Medicaid will pay for it so quick, you know. So a lot of people use Vivitrol. Let me see what else we have. Medicaid. I mean, we have methadone, Suboxone, Vivitrol, and naloxone. And the naloxone too is Vivitrol and stuff too. Now, when a person ODs, you know, y'all heard about Narcan, where you could reverse it, right? So there are three types of Narcans. They have the nasal type where you could just shoot one up one nostril and the person's supposed to come back. If they don't come back, you shoot the other nostril and then they come back. We have the auto injection filled syringe, where it's already measured out and everything, and you just stick them, you know. And then we also have the injection one, whereas you got to feel it and inject them. I think I prefer the nasal, you know, because I don't want to really give nobody something and I don't really, you know, although you could train on it and it's easy and it won't hurt. The nasal won't hurt. They say the injection won't hurt them either, you know, it won't cause them to die or anything like that. But I'm just conscious of that kind of stuff, you know. I don't want to really give nobody a shot or whatever, I'd rather do the nasal thing. But you still have to be careful because if they're using fentanyl or cofentanyl, those products are very dangerous. That fentanyl and cofentanyl is used for large animals, right? Elephants and stuff to put them out. And it's very deadly. So when you see EMTs all dressed in all that stuff, the hazmat stuff, is because that person is on fentanyl, cofentanyl, and it could cause them to die. And while they're giving them the nasal spray or the auto injector, so you have to be very cautious about things like that. And then when you give it to them and they come back, they still need to go to the hospital. Guess what? Most of them don't want to go to the hospital. They feel like, oh, I'm okay. But the thing can reverse again. The OD can come right back on you and you're dead. So that's a problem, and it's okay. A lot of people won't stay there with them, but they can because they have the rule where, you like a good Samaritan who stayed there and helped the person. So you won't get in trouble. You can stay there with them. But convincing them to go to the hospital is the thing. That's huge. That's major. And so with tobacco, you have Chantex, and you have the gums, patches, things like that, that people could use to get off of tobacco. You have, with alcohol, you have antabuse, which is antabuse. If they drink on antabuse, they will get an unpleasant reaction. It will almost kill them. And I've seen some people try to use antabuse and drink, and it just doesn't work. So they use antabuse, they use a comprestate, it's called ACAMPROSTATE. How you pronounce it? A comprestate? I always have problems with that word. I can spell it, but that, and they use the naloxone with it as well, to remove the cravings of alcohol. So we are moving toward medication-assisted treatment. A lot of people don't like it because they feel like it's just we substitute one drug for another, but that's not true. That is absolutely not true. I'm gonna stop here and let you all ask me a question while I take a swallow.
A question I had was, is there something that you learned working with this population that surprised you, or you just learned once you got directly into the field?
I learned a lot once I got into it because book knowledge is book knowledge. Experience is totally different, With book knowledge, it could tell you all about the different things, like with methadone, it could tell you how much methadone, how it looks and all of that, and, antabuse, and it'll describe it, right? Tell you, oh, addiction is a treatable disease, but you cannot cure it. It has to be managed, and people are out of control. Their behaviors are out of control. Their behaviors are compulsive. But once you get on the job and, you have all different type of people and you start studying people, observing them, you start learning a lot. Now, most people, when they come into treatment, they don't look very well. We used to at one time take pictures of them to show them before and after. And it would be a big, huge difference from their eyeballs to the way they looked, how much weight they gained. Even their behaviors are so different, And some people come from, and a lot of people come from good families, but because they've been and got on the drugs And the alcohol, they're a changed person. They're angry about something or something happened. One of the things to your question is what I learned when I started working in the addiction field is that most women and men got on addiction because they were hurt by an adult, physically hurt, like raped or abused, physically abused, beaten so bad, or they felt invisible. That's a hurting thing, to be a child and have to go through stuff like that, and so that's a commonality with most of them, believe it or not, that they were raped, they were beaten, and they were ignored, whereas the parents just would not believe that these things was happening to these children. And so they just grew up like feeling like nobody cares, and they would use to just get over that feeling, to just not even think about it. If you numb yourself, you ain't gonna think about it. You ain't gonna think about nothing. You just numb, and so, and a lot of women started with their boyfriends, believe it or not, even smart women, just boyfriends saying, oh, I'm bored. Let's try this. Let's go out. And it started off as fun, but then somebody always get addicted, and most of the time it be the woman who get addicted, and she out there doing all sorts of things because then they make them do everything so that they could get high, which is wrong. But if you're in love or you think you're in love, that's what happens. And I know I went a long way off, but yeah, exactly. It's sad.
X, sort of like when you were talking earlier, you were speaking about the facility not accepting as many people because of COVID and things like that. Do you like uh think of anything that would be a better solution for these kind of circumstances, like maybe open another facility or changing like pace of how treatment is going and such things?
I think we do need more facilities. I actually believe we need more women facilities because most of these facilities, their curriculum is geared toward white men and not women, and we need more women facilities because women are unique and they have so much going on. They have so many different layers to themselves, and just to put them in there with a man, and especially if they've been abused by a man, they don't want to go to treatment with a man, be in a co-ed treatment facility because now you got to deal with a fool, and excuse my language, but really, that's how they are initially. And it just causes a lot of friction and tension, So that's one of the things I would suggest is, yes, opening up more women facilities. Number two, telehealth. I think right now, since we don't have or not letting enough people in, that we should do telehealth. Have them call in and counsel them over the phone or whatever, over the computers, because everybody get a free phone nowadays, so call in and talk with your counselor or whatever, to just try to stay on the straight and narrow. Also, they could go to AA. AA, believe it or not, AA, Alcoholic Anonymous, NA, Narcotics Anonymous, CA, Cocaine Anonymous. All of those programs are excellent programs. As a matter of fact, those programs get more people in recovery than any other program. And they go there on their own, and tell their story. But they're listening to so many people tell their stories, and they are learning from them, and they are growing from because they see the same people who constantly. They have a great record of people being in recovery, believe it or not. So I always suggest to my clients to find you a self-help group to go to, one that you're going to feel comfortable with, one that you're going to like. And I always add it in on my treatment plan because, like I said, it just something about that program just helps them to get into recovery much faster. Getting a sponsor and having somebody to talk to, somebody who's been there, done that, yeah.
So what interests you in working with addiction?
When I first started out, Bria, I wanted to be an attorney.
Yeah.
And man, I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm not going for all that because my mother was a social worker. So I was like, I'm not dealing with all of that because, I'm listening to her and people calling, and she was a great social worker, but it was just the fact that it was like always an issue. I said, man, I'm going somewhere. I'm going to school, and I'm gonna get me a great degree and make sure I make money and be away from all of this kind of stuff. And believe it or not, I couldn't get through law school, through my law classes. Undergrad, I couldn't even get through that. I was making like C's, and I was a person used to making like A's and B's. So I was like very disappointed in myself. I was like, what in the world? I can't get this stuff. I kept studying hard and crying and cutting up. And my girlfriends kept saying, oh no, that ain't you, and I'm like, yes, it is me. It's like, that can't be you because, you're not doing well. Went to SUNO because I started out at LSU and my father died. And I wound up coming home to SUNO with my mother. And Dr. Leary, she was a psychologist at SUNO, and she had met me, and I can't remember how we met, but she said, you should be in psychology. I said, no, I want to be a lawyer. She said, no, you should try my psychology class, and I also teach addiction. And I was like, man, I am not going to get stuck with this stuff here, I'm saying this in my head, right? But she convinced me to take the class. So I took the class. The Maydays went through a breeze. I'm like, oh my God. Kept on. Then she said, I know somebody, you could do your volunteer work at the facility, right? I said, boy, I hope I don't get stuck in this. Went to Bridge House, did my internship. Girl, I was stuck like Chuck. I found the people to be so interesting. Just everybody got a story, and although we look at those people and want to judge them, you really can't. Because if you hear their story, you're like, wow, that's life, and so I just found it to be so amazing and so incredible that when they first come in and they look one way and they thinking one way, and then 6 months, at that time we used to keep them 6 months, and 6 months later they like blossom, it's like, oh my God, it was just a beautiful transformation. And I felt like, okay, this is where I belong, and so I've been there ever since, really, just really being involved, really trying to make a difference. I sit on the ADRA board, which is Addicted Disorder Regulatory Authority Board for the state of Louisiana. We make the rules, we govern the agencies, we police the counselors to make sure they're not taking advantage of people. And, it's just a wonderful thing to be able to make a difference and try to help people to be better than who they are, to be the best who they could be. So and every year we have a substance abuse conference. This year we did virtual, which I was the chairperson, but I'm gonna be the chairperson again because we like to do it in person. We couldn't do it in person this year because of COVID, but we're gonna do it in New Orleans again. And it's just a wonderful thing when people come together and talk about how they can make changes and what they've seen and how we could better help people. So I got stuck in it like that.
With our last 2 minutes of the meeting, I just wanted to ask a quick question in regards to all the things that you have done after getting your degree and things. So, like going pursue your doctorate, what made you want to pursue a doctorate degree?
Well, I wanted to teach, because like I said, I ran into a lot of old school when I first started, old school people, and they were like just stuck. What's the saying? Stuck on stupid. Just stuck on the same old stuff. And I'm like, got to be more to this. We need people who can bring it out, and challenge these people. And the only way you could do it, you got to have some kind of you got to have those credentials for them to even want to look at you. So I felt like, okay, I need to go get this credential so I can make a point, and be an influence in this field. Because if we continue with these, and I'm not, well, yeah, we all have some prejudice, this white man stuff. No, all kinds of people come into treatment, and one type of treatment ain't gonna work for everybody. So we need the diverse, we need people like me and other people to bring it in, and say, look, this is what we need to be doing to help people overcome. So with all working at, and I've worked at all type of different facilities, from inpatient, from social detox with no medication, to Bridge House with medication, to Grace House with women only, Family House with all women and children, the OPR facility. I've worked at all different types of facilities just to try to learn as much about addiction as I can, have a broad view of it, so that I can say, okay, I remember I need to do research and get this going and see if we could get a grant for this or some monies and have people to blow this up, implement this, and so we could help somebody. So that's what really made me go get my doctorate, because I wouldn't have went to school again. I was tired. But it's a good thing, really.